January 10th, 2025 was a day etched into my memory forever. Los Angeles wasn't just burning metaphorically, it was engulfed in actual flames. Thick smoke blanketed the sky, turning the sun into a dim, blood-red orb. The acrid smell of ash filled the air, stinging the senses. The fire, which had started days earlier in the mountains, had crept into our neighborhood like a silent predator. That morning I woke to the wail of sirens and the steady hum of helicopters circling above. The chaos seemed distant at first, but the reality was uncomfortably close. Our neighborhood remained eerily calm, but a growing unease lingered. Every hour the fire's menacing presence drew nearer. Propelled by unpredictable winds, people began to panic. Families frantically packed their belongings into cars, their lives condensed into a few bags and boxes. I lived alone, so my task felt solitary and surreal. What should I take? Important documents, my laptop, a handful of photographs. These were the fragments of my life that fit into a single bag. Yet, as I stood in my living room, I couldn't bring myself to leave. Something inside me whispered to stay, to help. Even though I wasn't sure how, by midday, the streets were a maze of activity. Neighbours, once strangers, were now united by a common fear. Evacuation centres were overflowing and roads were jammed with desperate families trying to escape. The air had become heavier, each breath a reminder of the encroaching danger. I stood on the curb, my bag slung over my shoulder, trying to decide whether to leave or stay when I noticed him. He was a tall man in a black jacket, moving with an air of calm that seemed almost out of place. At first, I thought he was a firefighter or a volunteer. He wasn't rushing or shouting, just helping. He pulled animals from smoke-filled homes, loaded belongings into cars, and directed panicked families towards safer routes. His precision and focus were striking, like someone who had faced chaos before. Curiosity got the better of me. I approached him, offering to help. Together, we entered a house where an elderly woman was refusing to leave. She was frail and defiant, clutching a photograph as though it were her lifeline. The man didn't argue or waste time. He gently lifted her into his arms and carried her outside. I helped secure her in a neighbour's car. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just anyone. The man was Keanu Reeves. There was no time to process the shock. Keanu moved with a sense of mission, as though this chaos was his calling. His calmness seemed contagious. People who had been paralysed by fear minutes earlier were now organising themselves, following his lead. A group of volunteers began going door to door, ensuring no one was left behind. By the evening, the fire had reached the outer edges of our neighbourhood. The flames devoured everything in their medical supplies. Some shared their stories of escape, others simply sat in silence, processing their loss. Keanu, though clearly exhausted, continued to help, sorting supplies, comforting those in need, and quietly ensuring that everything ran smoothly. I remember one moment vividly. A woman who had lost her home sat on the curb, her face streaked with tears. Keanu walked over and sat beside her. He didn't offer hollow reassurances or try to distract her from her grief. He simply sat there, his presence a quiet reminder that she wasn't alone. It was a small act, but it meant everything. By the time the fire was fully contained, the neighborhood was unrecognizable. The rising sun cast an eerie glow over the ash-covered streets, making it feel like we were standing in the remnants of a dream or a nightmare. Yet, even in the face of such devastation, there was hope. The community, once fragmented, had come together in a way none of us could have imagined. And at the heart of it all was Keanu Reeves. He stayed with us until the very end, helping clear rubble and ensuring supplies were distributed to those in need. Despite the toll the past days had clearly taken on him, he didn't seek recognition or rest. He moved quietly among the crowd, lending his strength and calm presence to those who needed it most. People began sharing stories of his heroism, how he carried their child out of a burning house, how he saved their pets, or how his mere presence had given them the courage to keep going. As the day wore on, I noticed Keanu standing by himself near the edge of the makeshift aid station. His posture was tired but steady, his gaze fixed on the horizon. A woman approached him, thanking him through tears for saving her family. He gave her a small nod and replied simply, "You did it yourself. I was just helping." Those words stayed with me. They captured the essence of what he had done, uniting us, inspiring us, and showing us that even in the darkest moments, we are capable of incredible things when we work together. As the evening fell, Keanu began to quietly prepare to leave. He didn't announce his departure, nor did he seek any attention. He simply packed his belongings, nodded at a few volunteers, and walked away. Someone tried to take a photo, but before they could, he had disappeared into the fading light, leaving behind only the memories of what he had done. That day was burned into our collective memory, not just for the destruction and loss, but for the way one man reminded us of our shared humanity. Every time I see Keanu Reeves in a movie or hear his name, I don't just think of the actor. I think of the man who, in the face of unimaginable chaos, became a symbol of hope, courage, and unity.